Hello, hello. You can hear me, yeah? Awesome. Oh, Amy's good. Camera set up. Sticky. Okay, there she is. Awesome. I'm gonna start my last camera. Ready. Mm-mm-mm. It's got all the angles, something like that. Okay. Do a quick check-in. Everybody doing today on this Monday? Let's start with Cha, since she's the closest. Cha and Sarah.
Fine. I mean, like Sarah and I were semi-rolling before this, and I got a toe to the eye, so my eye is totally red right now.
Oh no.
Well,
Yeah. Your toe is fine, Sarah.
yeah, I'm fine. It was bad for Cha though,
Aw. I'm
but
sorry,
yeah, I
Cha.
think we're still okay. We're ready to
Good.
go. It's just red now. I was like looking
Yeah.
at the video too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty swollen. Well, I'm glad you both still joined today. Um, and we're gonna continue with our back series. Um, and yeah, let's go into Jennifer. How is you?
It's fine.
Good, fine, awesome, good. Everybody's good. Amy, quick check-in. How you doing? How you feeling? Good, thumbs up. All right, awesome. So today we're gonna do a little bit more talking for hopefully about the first 20 minutes, and then we're gonna get into rolling. This is mostly because I'm gonna try to put together a setup for you guys, and I want you to really visualize the actions that are happening in order for you guys to set up the back. So last week or the past couple weeks, we went over how to take the back and pin the arm that would be defending against the choke by basically almost setting them up in a quasi crucifix position in order to get to the back and get to the rear naked choke. Well, how do we get them to turtle up is the question, right? There's a lot of ways to get people to turtle up, and I'm going to give you a few scenarios that work with me. But before that, I want to kind of go through the room and ask you guys, where are you finding yourself most dominant when you're rolling with jiu-jitsu? Now, if you're somebody who hasn't rolled in quite some time, it might take you a while to get to that place. So I think, Jennifer, you're probably the person who hasn't really had a lot of regular training lately, so I'll go to you last. So you can take some time to like really think about, when I've been rolling, where have I been most dominant? Or when I've been rolling, what has my game plan been, and what have I actually been able to execute, right? So that is kind of where I want to lead you guys down. And all of us have different games. I know we're saying this on YouTube. Maybe somebody might come in and freaking spy on us and take apart our game. But, you know, truth is, our game is constantly evolving. So even if you guys say it now, a few months from now, especially if you're doing regular training, it might evolve and change. So, and that's perfectly okay. The point is for us to flesh it out so we can get ourselves to that position to set up our submission, to set up our dominant game. If you're an MMA person like Cha, I know you're working on MMA, and you want to just fucking pummel people in the face, how are you going to get them there, right? And how are you going to keep them there? So when you're going through, and when I call on you, I want you to kind of describe where you are finding yourself. Even if you have a game plan where you're actually trying to set people up for this, to that position, mention that too. And if you already know too how you're trying to shut people down and close off exits, mention that as well, because that's how we're going to funnel people into where we want them to go. So especially since Cha is the most experienced outside of me, I'm going to start with her and Sarah, and then we're going to go to Amy and then Jennifer. All right.
I'm most dominant in side control. Lately, I've just been working open guard to get there, either with sweeps or just even going. I mean, a lot of the time, because I like half guard and getting to the back from half guard, or getting even sweeping people from there. Um, that's usually my game plan, I guess.
Oh, awesome. Now, and when you're getting to, so let's think about it for a second. you are starting in half guard on your back, yes? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, typically. Now, what exits are you trying to close off? So you know people want to typically do this or that. So what are you closing off to funnel people into your suite?
I'm not letting them pass, or I let them pass on purpose, but overpass so that I can get the back, and I can either get the back, or I can reverse their direction because they've overpassed, and now I can make space for them to, and then I get into side control. Does that make sense?
That's yeah. No, that's and that's exactly what we're looking for. That's kind of like the type of thinking that we want to think when we want to start setting people up to our dominant position. Now, what is the dominant position you're trying to get them? Just side control and finish from side control? All right.
Yeah, side control usually.
Okay, cool. Sarah, what about you?
Well, I try for takedowns, definitely trying to be a top wrestler. Haven't totally abandoned trying to guard players, but have worked more and more on entering into the leg entanglement against guard players. And definitely pretty dominant if I can get anyone in turtle. I've got a number of chokes that I've worked a lot on.
And how do you usually get people into turtle?
Sometimes they'll roll to that to avoid getting their guard past the 2 points, to try to hold that off a little bit, or have tried to go through stand up, getting the headlock or a snap down. I've worked that. I mean, that would be game plan A, but yeah. Other people often take it to the ground, they play guard, and then so I might go to leg entanglement more and more, but that's been something I've been getting better with, especially with your classes.
Now, I want to help you improve your verbiage when you're talking about your game. I forgot who the famous philosopher who said it, but he would say, don't try, do. Right? So if you allow room or space for the word try, you're also allowing room and space for failure, right? Right? Or to not put as much energy into the task because you get to say you tried, right? And you can accept the fact that you tried, but you didn't do. So when you're thinking about your game plan, let's try to frame it in terms of what am I doing versus what did I try to do, right? Because we can, and even if you're trying, you can go back later and say, well, I tried to do this. You can kind of backtrack and start to learn where you failed. Or you can say, I did this and it failed, and just own up to that, right? I tried to execute the guard pass, or I stepped this way, versus saying I tried to execute the guard pass. You can say maybe I stepped left and then my weight was off, so that shifted and I got swept, right? It kind of gives you space to take a little bit more ownership too on where you failed, but also really laser focus you on what are you actually executing, what have you actually been able to execute versus what did you try to execute, right? Does it make sense? Right? If you tried to execute something, you didn't execute it, right? Versus focusing on what did you actually execute. Does that make sense?
Right.
Right. So when you're talking about your game plan, are you snapping them down and getting them to turtle a lot? Or does your game typically work best in other ways?
They sit to play guard and I go into leg entanglement. Yeah, I would say that's
more of what's happening. Now, are you satisfied with that?
No, I like to wrestle for the takedown.
Okay. So then, and see, do you see where I'm going here? Now you can see, okay, you can laser focus yourself on, this is what's happening. I'm not satisfied with it. I know this is what I want to do. And when I get here, I'm good at it. I'm just not getting here often. Right. So then you can be like, where am I failing where this setup isn't happening as often as I want it to? And then we can backtrack it from there. But we won't get into too deep of that yet. Let's just focus more on the snap down. That works really well. And that's a really great setup into turtle. Right. So that's probably one of your game plan setups is snap down to turtle, right? And then you can run to the back. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How are you feeling with that?
Yeah. I mean, before the pandemic, I definitely noted to try to get better at back control. So, yeah, that's an ultimate game plan there, certainly.
Okay. Yeah. And so now as you're visualizing your pathway to where you know you're most dominant, start to pick apart checkpoints along the pathway where you weren't able to execute that well. If you need to take notes, take notes. If you're like me, you just need to take a mental note and then study the heck out of it or find coaches to help you close those gaps, then you can go from there and improve. Obviously, I'm not going to spend the whole class dissecting that, but I just kind of wanted you to kind of think about your game plan, especially with more confidence too. You go into a tournament and you're thinking, I'm going to try to do this. It's different than saying, just being confident in what your game plan is and still allowing space to be able to adapt if things don't go that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Amy, let's go with you next. You've had a few, I'm not sure when's the last time you were able to roll, but in the time you've been rolling, where have you found yourself most dominant?
Usually from side control or mounts. I feel pretty good about sort of going between armbar and then Kimura and Americana and then armbar on the other side, kind of going between those three. So that's probably where I'm most comfortable. If I get there, I feel pretty good. If I'm on the bottom, I'm not so good at reversing the position. So usually what I try to do is to get underneath and go for a deep half or see if I can elevate to X guard. And then once they're on their feet, I can probably try to sweep or something to kind of get back on top.
Okay.
And usually what I'm trying to do from the top is forcing half guard and then passing from there.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So, so today we're definitely going to still focus on our back control and it's just giving me an idea of kind of how to set up our setup, help you guys set up the turtle from where you guys all seem most confident. Jennifer, what about you? Where do you find yourself most dominant? Oh, before we go to Jennifer, sorry, one more thing. Amy, when you're on top and you're in side control, what exits are you trying to close off?
Usually I'm trying to prevent them from turtling. Like I'm cool if they're on their side because that exposes the arm for an arm bar. But usually if they get to turtle, then that kind of switches up the game plan. That's a different system, I guess.
Yeah. So when they turtle, how is it a problem for you?
Just less confident with. I'm just less confident with the turtle and like breaking through that shell. If I'm lucky and I have a lapel, like I can probably do some sort of loop chokey thing, but I don't think I have a good system there.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, awesome. Jennifer.
Same, also like side control. The way I usually get there is by sweeping from spider lasso. So I think takedowns is in the category of try for me because it's pretty low percentage for me. So at the beginning of the match, I will try it just to see what I can get. But I know it's not super likely. So at that point, it's more about messing with them for a while before ultimately I try to get into spider lasso.
All right. So you're starting from standing, messing with them, getting them off balance, and pulling guard into spider lasso. Does that sound right? Okay, and then you're able to sweep them from there, right? I don't think so. Just to kind of speak on that, Jennifer, I don't think that's necessarily a bad game plan for jiu-jitsu sport tournaments. Just get confident in the fact, if you can get to a place where you're confident in knowing that you're not going to take them down, but hiding it, and you're learning your wrestling movement, so learning how to move people and break people down using the movements we do in wrestling, and if you're doing any judo as well, it's going to help. So it's going to serve you better in setting up your ability to pull guard, right? Because the person's off balance and they're afraid of the takedown, that they're opening themselves up to get pulled into somebody's guard. So that's just kind of, I started switching my mind. I think I was working with Gina and Caroline, I think, for a tournament. And Caroline has a wrestling background and Gina's like MMA. And both of them are like really good. We were working a lot of wrestling too. And I was like, I'm not taking these girls down, my knee hurts. So I was still setting them up, and I was able to use a setup from wrestling to pull effectively into the guard. It was nogi, it was like a reverse De La Hiva, and sweep them over, right? Just from using the setup and using movements from wrestling. So I don't think it's a bad game plan to go in for guard. You can just use, like you said, the movements to help set you up. Now, when you sweep them and you end up in side control, for you, what exits are you trying to close off?
Yeah, I think similar to what Amy said, them shrimping away from me, creating that opening to get their leg in, basically trying to take their back off the floor. So I'm just trying to smush them down until I can get an arm or something.
Okay. All right, cool. Awesome. Well, that works well. So I'm going to go over with you guys some things that I do from side control. And actually, my whole game plan is when I get to side control, I'm also top dominant person. So after I've set up my passing from, it doesn't really matter from whether I've taken them down or I've passed the guard, and I get to side control. The exit I'm trying to close off is allowing them to put me back into the guard. So I'm always trying to, if this is, yeah, as you see, if I'm here in side control on, what did I name him? Benjamin? Benjamin here. All right. So I'm always going to try and keep distance between the close leg and my body. I don't want them turning into me and getting to their side and being able to sneak this knee inside my hip. So I'm always running and keeping myself high and away. And if I need to, I can start to switch up my hips and start working for Kimuras, arm bars, or arm bars on this side. Lately, I've also been working on guillotine setups too. The point here, it really doesn't matter what submission you're trying to work from the top position. The exit you're trying to close off is them putting their leg back in to get back to your guard, and also any type of scramble up where you completely lose position altogether. the submissions and your weight distribution is breaking them down. Think of it as you're the hammer trying to hammer through a wall, or their defenses, and you're just constantly wearing on their defenses until they create your opening. And for me, it is turtle. I want them to turtle up because I want to chase them to the back so we can get to that crucifix position that we've been working on the past couple of weeks. All right. Now, today's class, we're going to focus on how to just maintain control of the turtle position. All right. When you're in side control, if you have both hands on both sides, we all know that the person can turn away. Now, this is perfectly okay in our instance. One, you kind of have the arm trapped on this side. It really sucks if they get their hand on the other side, and it's much more difficult to control. But since you want them to turtle up, it's okay. As they're turtling up, even if they get their arm on the other side, it's really important that you maintain this hook at their armpit, or if you're over the head, you're trying to keep your lat connection over their face as they're turning. So he's going to turn around and you're going to allow him to go and chase the hips, right? So I'm going to be holding on to the person's hips and staying behind them in this turtle position. So I want to allow them to turtle up. But I need to allow them to turtle up and still maintain control. I don't want to be here on both sides of the body. They turtle up and then I'm just like, oh no, they're running away. And both my hands are in the air. I'm going to be connected to them, even though both hands are both sides. I'm going to keep this hand here attached to the hip. So as they're running, I'm still hooked in like a seatbelt, and I can still hold on to their hips and stay close to them, right? Once I'm here and once we're in this turtle position, they're starting to get away, I'm going to use my hook to snap them back down. All right, so I'll have Cha and Sarah demonstrate. There are live people. You're just going to, Cha, you're just going to put Sarah in side control. You really don't have to hook or cable grip it. All you really need is your middle finger in her armpit and pulling her tight to your body. That's it. That's one grip. The other grip, you can have your hand prop to the head. Let me turn this camera down. One finger in the armpit, pulling them close. You can have your hand on the side of the neck, pull them close here. If you don't want your arm trapped underneath, you can use your hand and smash their head to the side. You have your choice of different grips and exactly what you want to do here, right? Typically, if I'm going to set up my Kimura grip, I want this bottom hand free. Good people will stay heavy on your arm and it's really difficult to pull out. So I'll just keep my elbow here and keep my bottom hand free and keep my elbow on this side of their body so that I can always use this hand if I want to. And this hand can just be here on the armpit. All right, so I'm pulling them back that way. All right, so go ahead. Chad, do you need any more demonstration? Are you good? Good. Good. Yeah, so get your side control grip. Exactly. So you can have your elbow down, but I prefer, yeah, just like how you have it now with your hand gripped over the top of her hip, right? So from here, Sarah will typically, she's gonna wanna turn into you, right? Because you're not blocking her thigh, right? She's gonna turn into you, get that bottom leg in. Exactly. So go back. So with that top hand that you have over her hip, Cha, you can take it and place it down to the ground with your palm down to block her leg out. Good. Exactly. So now Sarah, she can't turn in, right? Especially if Cha has her really good side control pressure. It's going to be difficult for Sarah to turn in. So her only option is to turn away. Most people don't want to do that. They'll buck hard until you're either setting up a guillotine choke from the top or setting up a Kimura. You have to kind of just constantly wear and smash on their upper body for them to realize that they're not getting out by trying to push you back into the guard. So then they're going to start to run away, right? Run away at some point to turtle. There you go. Good. So as soon as she's running, exactly. Now you want to follow her towards her hips as she's running. Try not to stay at the side. You want to continue to run behind her. Exactly. And keep her hips in your hip pockets in this little bowl. So the side of her hip, and I'm going to use Jerry for this, he's a little lighter, right? So the side of his hip, I'm going to stay kind of my corner to his corner of the hip, grabbing his hips here. And I want to keep my foot shallow. You know, you guys are working leg locks, so you don't want your foot deep. If you're doing this, you want to keep your foot shallow. Or me, I keep my foot behind and I can always pin if I want to over the legs. But usually I'm just keeping my foot behind and my knee hugged to the person's hips and keeping them hugged in nice and tight. Okay. So go ahead, try that again, Cha. Make sure you're chasing her hips. You want to chase her around the back. All right, so she's running. Good. Yeah. Chase her around the back. Exactly. And now you can use that top hand to pull her, snap her back down to seated. Good. Yeah. And just keeps, and that's going to be the wearing game, right? So eventually we'll start to work into just getting our hooks in. From there, you guys will work the snap down a few times with your dummy or your training partner, and then start to work in the crucifix position that we worked on last week into the rear naked choke. Do you guys have any questions? No?
I wasn't here last week. Can I see it?
Can you say that again?
Oh, I wasn't here last week. Can I see that crucifix once?
Oh, okay, sorry. I think you were here one of the weeks when we did something similar. So we're here in the crucifix, in the turtle position. We're going to take our close knee, stick it inside between the armpit and the elbow. Our far hand is going to take the wrist, roll it in, and we can use our hand to punch this other hand out, step over, collect the leg, collect the neck, and now we're here. All right, you can use this other leg over the top to keep them from jumping over your leg. And now we have the rear naked choke from here. So, you good, Jennifer? Okay. All right. Yeah, try to let your knee, your top knee, hug her butt. Yeah, like even get that knee in. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, you can use that foot to peel her foot out too. So you're really breaking her down. Yeah, just keep your legs shallow. Yep, exactly. So as she's trying to turtle up, Sarah, go back to regular side control real quick. Your hands down like this, blocking out her guard. Good. So she's turtling up. Try to get your hand to her hip as fast as possible. So like right here, hook the top of her hip like this. Yeah. And even you can drop your elbow down into a little bit so you really have a nice hook. So now when she's turtling up, you can read her a little bit more. Yeah, good. Mm-hmm. One more rep and then let's look in. Mm-hmm. All right, Jennifer and Amy, everybody finish this rep. Let's look in. So Jennifer and Amy, when you guys are doing this, just work from the turtle, just turtle up your dummy and break them down. That's it. You don't have to go through the whole rigmarole because it's kind of, they can't move and they can't move well, you know? So you, as you're doing it, just kind of visualize in your head and try to make that visualization as visceral as possible. And you also have Amy and Cha here to look that they're okay, they're inside control, they're turtling up, and then I'm breaking them down. But I don't want you guys going through that additional step. It's just kind of awkward. So now as the person turtles up, the issue I heard you guys, some of you guys say is that you're having a hard time breaking them down. This hip bump is part of the breakdown process, right? You're going to use your body. Barry, because again, he's just lighter and easier to move around. You want to use your body as, think of yourself almost like the shock on a car, right? So you want to have that spring where you're here, right? You're going to create a little bit of a gap. You're close, and you're just creating a little bit of a gap to pop them down. People who are athletic are going to pop back up, right? So they're going to be popping back up, and you're going to have to be constantly moving here and control and trying to keep their hips in your hip bowl, right? That I call. So if you guys have a for those of you who don't have a real training partner, if you have a Swiss ball around, you can use your Swiss ball as the person breaking them down. So you're here, boom, and you want to just constantly be able to move that Swiss ball and keep the Swiss ball always in your hips, right? I'm always trying to keep them in this hip. So my knee is connected to the Swiss ball and my hand is connected to the Swiss ball. And no matter where the Swiss ball goes, I'm always just moving and trying to keep myself behind the Swiss ball and keeping it in my hip ball. You can also use your dummy too. It's going to be this constant breaking down that the person has to, they have to react to you. That's one part of the breaking down. If you can punch people in the face, is another part of the breaking down, but you can't do that for just jiu-jitsu. MMA, yes. Right, so that's one part of the breaking down, just breaking them down at the hips. Another part is digging in, trying to wedge in. So we have our hands to try to dig in between the shoulders and the chin like we do when we're trying to dig in for the rear naked choke. With stronger guys, it's a little bit more difficult. So I find it a lot easier for me to dig in with my knees here between the elbow and the body. And just leaning on here, putting all my weight in and leaning this through helps me dig things out. And it also helps me open them up. Another thing versus going for the arm, you can also dig in for the leg. Here, so versus facing forward, which is typical, you can switch it up. Try to face Barry. And dig in for the legs this way. And this time you're digging in for the truck. Okay. So I'll use the dummy this time. Dig it in. Sometimes it's difficult to dig out the arm. This time you can dig in for the leg. Again, hand at the hip. I'm falling backwards, switching my feet, and then I can go in for the truck. Once I'm in this position for the truck, we're just working to the back. We're not working to get to, let me keep this leg. We're not working to get to any fancy submissions here. I'm just gonna pass this off. So my outside hand is gonna dig in for the arm, right? I'm gonna cup here, dig in, close arm, digging for the arm, grab the wrist, and then I can start to work to the back this way. Go back one more time. Here for the truck position, cupping the thigh so I can release this. Hands digging for the arm. Boom, down, and then into the back. This way. Let's try that with Sarah and Cha so you guys can have a better visual with an actual live person. So we'll have Sarah turtle up. All right. So boom. So this time it's going to be your other, go back, Cha. Something's off. Also, I can't see. Sarah, have your head face either wall. Yeah, that wall. Yeah, that's better. Boom. Boom. So go back, Cha. Go back. First, you want to dig in with your knee that's closest to her head. So get your knee between her area. Yeah. Yeah. And use that as a wedge and pull her heel all the way out. And you don't need to bring your knee to the ground. You don't need to bring your knee to the ground. You want to keep your Achilles attached to her ankle. That's it. Yeah. Just keep her Achilles attached to the ankle and pinch your knees together. And now you can fall into her hip. Your arm goes into her hip. Yeah, and you can start to fall back from here. Good. Now, as you start to elevate her, let me go back into this so you can see what my legs are doing. It's really important that when you're falling back, you switch your feet. Otherwise, you're gonna put yourself into a leg lock. So I'm here. I'm gonna keep my Achilles attached to their Achilles, so my heel is on the ground, all right? And then I'm pulling that out, so that really gets her hip down at an angle. And I can use my knee to pull this in as a lever. Here. Pulling that in, my hands grabbing for the hip. Pulling her in. Now this foot, I'm not gonna be crossing my feet. I'm just using this heel to keep her leg at an awkward angle, which will allow me to feed my leg through. Into this position, right? I don't want to cross my feet. Here, angle. My knee really wants to get all the way through the knee, heel, and it's the fact that their leg is bent like this that allows me to keep the hook until I need to get my foot through. Does that make sense? So I need to keep their leg bent and then at a weird angle. And that'll help me maintain the hook versus trying to cross my feet. I don't want to get my inside leg deep, otherwise I'm gonna put myself into a knee bar. Keep that heel shallow, pull it out. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Good. Yep, and now the other hand can reach over her arm and you can go into the, exactly. Jennifer and Amy, you guys need to see it again from a different angle. Thumbs up, Amy, if you're good. Okay, cool. All right, you guys. Try it. You cross your, yeah, there you go. And then the other foot underneath her. And now extend your legs, Sarah. Extend your legs. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I go underneath the other way. Or you can use your hand to grab her wrist, your other hand to grab her wrist. Yeah, and both hands to grab her wrist. There you go. Now you can pull the arm, yeah, across the body. Okay. So, Sarah, the hand goes underneath the arm and grabs the wrist like this, the closed hand. So you're underneath the arm, if I can get away. I'm just grabbing underneath the arm, so my arm is in their armpit, and then I grab the wrist. Right, if that makes sense. I'm not coming over for an actual core grip, though that's good too. But sometimes you're trying to still manage that one leg with their at their ankle or their knee pit or whatever. You're still trying to manage this leg, and you still need to do something with this arm. You still need to try to get control again for this arm. So all I'm doing is my hand is underneath the armpit. Usually they're trying to be here, trying to keep their arms close. So my hand just comes like this and grabs the wrist here. And that's when I can start to exchange arms. So my hand just comes through, grabs the shoulder, and then I can extract my other arm and grab the neck. Other hand, Cha. Underneath. There you go. Grab a wrist. Yeah. And just pull it close to you. There you go. Much better. Mm-hmm. Yep. Good job, Amy. So, nice. Here. Swing out. Yep, just grab for a wrist there. Mm-hmm. That pull that tight to you. There you go. Ew, very nice. Okay, child, last few reps here, like do two or three reps, and then we're gonna have like do a flow real quick. Yep, switch your feet, Amy. Good job. All right. Let's look in. Amy and Jennifer, I want you guys to look in. Sarah and Cha, if you can, please do a demo. This is what I want you guys to do. The goal is not to get a submission here. The goal is to work that breakdown, just breaking people down in turtle. And I do want Sarah to start because she's athletic, and I want you to use as much athleticism as you can, Sarah, with control because of your space. And also, we don't want to kick Cha in the eye. But just like with control, because this is the position from turtle, is where people are going to scramble the most and where people are going to be the most athletic. And so what we want to do here is to, one, continue to chase the hips and be able to break the person down using either pulling their hips, weight distribution, or different entries in order to get to the position that we want. All right, does that make sense? Are you up for a quick demo, Cha? Thumbs up if yes. Okay, awesome. All right, so I want this to be useful for Jennifer and Amy so they can see and visualize since they don't have their dummies. Sarah's gonna be in turtle, and then you're gonna be, you're just gonna be on top. You're gonna be on top. If it gets to side control, I'm just gonna have it go for a few minutes until you get to the back, straight jacket position. Right, you're already on the back. So until you get to the straight jacket position. If she ends up on her back in side control, we're still going because now they can see how to break people down. Okay, so I'm gonna keep you guys going for at least 3 minutes, no max than 5. All right, ready? And go. Good. And time. Okay, good. So we kind of lost position here, right? When you start to feel that she's starting to break away from your hips, Cha, I want you to feel okay going gable grip around her hips or waist, all right? To keep her down. One thing I utilize a lot as people are starting to really start to break away and disconnect from my hips, I use these butterfly hooks in their knee pits, right? So if they're breaking away, I'm sucking them back in, butterfly hooks in the knee pits, boom, and getting them back down to the ground, all right? So start to feel a little bit confident and just grabbing her around the waist. The only reason why you're keeping those hooks shallow is because she's still on the ground, you can get swept. But as soon as you're ready to go, get either into the crucifix or into the truck, or stick your foot in for the back. Do that. But you gotta maintain hip to hip control. Connection with your elbows and your hands on her hips. Ready? Go. Yeah, dig in. Yeah. Good job, Sarah. Keep working. All the athleticism, Sarah, even here in these positions. Try to turn back into her. Yep, stay on top. Yeah, there you go. Good job, and time. Good, yeah, that's what I wanted to see. So for Jennifer and Amy, before we switch top to bottom here, what questions do you have? What did you guys see? Let's start with Jennifer since she's the closest.
Yeah, I'm seeing Cha keep good control up top. Can you guys even hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it seemed like there were lots of moments where like the hips were getting distance, but you were like reclaiming, I think, a seatbelt control up top and just pulling her back down.
Yeah, I lost control of the hips, but I felt like I had the shoulders, so I just kind of crawled my legs back up.
Oh, Amy, what did you see?
Nothing else super insightful. I guess what Jen said, it seemed a little bit like hot potato, like you're just trying to, like, you can lose control, but there's a path to kind of recovery back into back control.
Yeah. And so that path to the recovery is maintaining solid connection with your hips to hips, and also that gable grip or those hands on the hips, depending on what position you're in. Obviously, you're not going to go gable and when the person's turtle up with hands and knees on the ground, because you'll get rolled. But as soon as a person starts to stand up and break away, even if they're here, or especially if they're here, I'm already sucking into the gable grip. Another thing I want you guys to know, especially Cha at the higher level, since we're getting higher level, here is the concept of just beating somebody down and wearing someone down in all positions. Okay, so if you start to find, okay, Amy and Jennifer, you guys are really confident in the side control position. But if you start to find that you can be dominant as a person turtles up and still get them back into remember when I talked about the circle of fun, back into side control. It's like, I'm in turtle, I'm in back, now I'm in side control. You're going to start to get the person to create a failure. They're going to start to fail in their defenses along the way. So the concept of just staying on them, what my coach calls riding them tough, and just beating down and wearing down on their defenses. And it doesn't matter what part of the circle. If your part of the circle is side control and you really enjoy all the submissions for side control, but they're going from turtle to now you have their back to, and then they're back in side control, and you constantly find yourself in that loop. Just know that, okay, the side control, the position is like boom. But when I'm here in turtle, I'm trying to lead them back into side control. When I have the back, I'm trying to lead them back into side control. It doesn't matter where in the circle they are. I'm always going to stay dominant in each position, and I'm going to lead them back into side control, which is the concentrated. When I was listening to Danaher, he was talking about, I forgot, it was concentrated offenses, or your concentrated effort is your side control. My concentrated effort is turtle now. It's turtle. So I'm concentrated effort on turtle and the straight jacket position. Somebody else might be a different position, right? And then all the other alternative positions, which is your turtle and your back, those are your diffuse. So you're diffusing all their defenses, but all your concentrated efforts are coming to side control. Does it make sense? Or am I losing you guys? All right. Okay. Let's go over for a few more minutes. I want Sarah to have her fun too. All right. Just a little bit. Cha, as much athleticism as both of you guys now, because Sarah's going to be in the top. So both of you guys, as much athleticism with control because of your space that you can give. Okay. I want you guys really working hard to not allow the person to get to the back. And I'm not worried about submissions. I'm just worried about like actual control. Ready? Yeah, you're on turtle. Cha, you're on turtle, and I want you to be as athletic as possible. Ready? And go. Yeah, snapping her down. This is what I want to see. You're snapping her hip to hip. You're snapping her hip to the mat, left and right, left and right. Snapping her hip. There you go. Snapping her hip down. until you can get your hooks in. Right, and everybody has their different way that they defend. Some people are gonna stay a little bit more shelled up. Other people might be moving around more. That's okay. This is just your opportunity to learn how to break different looks down. Good job, Sarah. Get that foot, get that arm, get that arm. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, maintain control. Good job. And time. Perfect. That was a pretty secure position. I just want to stop you guys at the secure position. All right. That was really good. All right. Starting with Amy this time. What did you see?
I think I saw a crucifix in there. Getting that heel into that arm and trapping it and falling back.
What about Jennifer? What did you see?
Well, mostly I'm wondering if Cha was asking if she's allowed to leave the turtle or if she was trying to stay in turtle.
I don't know. I don't really know what she was asking, to be honest with you. She could have stayed in turtle. She could also broke away to stand up. Either or. Those are kind of the options there. Or put her into closed guard if that's what you're gonna do. So that would be the person on bottom skull. Break away. Don't let them get anything, or get them into guard. So you can think of these in terms of the 3 defenses where we have. Well, it's actually 4. Nobody talks about fawning, but you're not going to fawn in jiu-jitsu because fawning is, when you talk about fight, flight, or freeze, there's also fawning. Fawning is negotiating your way out of a situation. So freeze would be staying in turtle. Fighting would be trying to turn back into the person and get back into guard. And fleeing would be standing up and running away, right? Breaking away. So that's the kind of the different options that you have from any position, really, when you're defending. Did you see anything there, Jennifer? No?
Well, because of the question I had in my head, I was actually wondering, I think I saw some places where Cha wanted to leave turtle but didn't and stayed there.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and also what I saw, at least from Sarah, was some good pressure. So I'll just check in with Cha and see if that's what you guys felt, or and Sarah, what was in your head at the time.
What?
How was the pressure?
It was right.
So I had secured one hook by sort of pressuring Cha's back, but I don't know if the camera you could see, but then she cleared that hook. So I was actually sort of just had a seatbelt. I didn't feel comfortable, and that's when I switched to the arm attack, which probably was a good idea.
That was good.
No, I saw you get your hook in, and I saw her clear it. That is what I saw. I saw you trying to get your hook in. And so this is kind of the concept of trying to reinforce again of riding somebody tough, because you weren't able to get both hooks in to the back mount position that you're trying to go for, but you still maintained pressure and you rode her tough and eventually allowed, or you really forced and created an opening to get to the crucifix position, right? Which is something I'm just trying to reinforce in these positions, is to just be relentless with what you're trying to attack and understanding how you're supposed to attach to the person, right? Relentless with your attack and knowing how you need to attach, and also knowing what exits you need to shut off or open up in order to lead the person down the funnel to where you're most dominant, okay? A thumbs up if you guys are ready to go. Any questions before we sign off? No, we're good. All right, you guys, thanks for staying a little bit longer. Have a great rest of your evening. I'll see you on Saturday.
Thanks, Mom.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.